He is a finalist from the Intel Extreme Masters Shanghai. He is Oz. And his opponent, currently up 2-1 from Team Jin Green Wings, it is sOs. And sOs, man, that last game, that it comes down to certain situations, and I feel like this actually affects Protoss versus Protoss more than almost any other matchup in the game. Is the army value, like what your army is made of as far as head-on engagements go. Like in Terran versus Zerg, you can see, similar supply usually shows that it's about an even game. Terran versus Protoss, if it's even, usually you'd expect the Terran to have a little bit more bioforces. But in all those matchups, the supply being very close, you can almost always have an engagement go one way or another. But in Protoss versus Protoss, both players can be maxed out, and if one guy has, say, 20 Zealots, and the other guy has, instead of those 20 Zealots, 4 or 5 Archons, the guy with the extra Archons is going to absolutely obliterate. It's going to be disgusting. So that game just really showed it. Having a bunch of Stalkers, it was just, you can have 17, 20 Stalkers SOS, but when that is replaced with 4 Immortals, 4 or 5 Immortals, the advantage that Oz had, there is just no way you cost effectively trade versus that. It simply doesn't happen. So this game, we'll have to see if sOs can close things out, if he's going to allow Oz to completely come back in this series. Both players sending out relatively fast probe scouts. Of course, not finding each other, but everything else seems to be timed out very closely between the two of them. And of course, they'll be looking to try to move on to the round of 8. We are in the round of 16. The winner of this match does play against the winner of Jiachi Revival. So there's quite a bit left to see here at the Intel Extreme Masters, and I hope you guys have been enjoying the games. These have been some great matches so far in all of today's games, really. But Twilight Council will be the choice of tech for sOs. This is not a bad Dark Templar map, not a bad Blink map. I just feel like, I don't know, something in my gut just makes me want to lean more towards Dark Templar, but since we've already seen it from sOs, can you really count on that? Oz, on the other hand, with this Stargate timing, with the Chrono Boost saved on his Nexus, I can only imagine he wants to go for a fast Oracle. Pretty much the way he scouted kind of gives I think a good indicator. He knows where his opponent is. He saw the Twilight Council, and this Dark Shrine's on the way. And wow, this is interesting. Oz is actually opening with a Phoenix. He wasn't scouted at all. But the Phoenix will allow him to scout. He can at least know for sure because of the Phoenix has speed, and it's it's very, very easy for the Phoenix to get in and out. So he's gonna play Phoenix. He will need an Oracle to deal with the Dark Templar, but he should 100% be able to scout this. There's no excuse now for Oz to not see this and be able to prepare for it. I don't know how well he can respond to this based on when he actually sees it, because he does need 50 seconds to build an Oracle, and the Dark Shrine only needs 35 seconds. So even if he Chrono Boosts an Oracle out right now, he can still have a kind of tight detection window, because sOs is also expanding behind this. And this puts Oz in a weird spot, since he shouldn't lose his Nexus or anything weird like that, but he will start the robotics facility now, not building an Oracle. And sOs has a pylon building, so I guess he has about 10 seconds or so before he can warp in the first Dark Templar. Oz, the only reason I don't feel like, yeah, did he have an Oracle? He had an Oracle in production for a second. He canceled it, but I was gonna say the game on Polar Night is a prime example of why just scouting the Dark Shrine and not taking damage initially doesn't necessarily mean too much. He sees the Nexus. He knows what's up. Hallucinated Phoenix fights the real Phoenix. And actually wards away the scout with his Phoenix. But that tells SOS, more than he needs to know. He already knew that it was a real Phoenix just from poking it before. They die so quickly, the hallucinations. But Oz is going to get out an Immortal. SOS starting to move probes onto the natural, beginning to saturate that. He's going into robotics tech of his own and Forge. So this is still very similar play between both players, really. They've taken a slightly different direction, I suppose. But it's not too bad. So he's still cranking out Immortals. I think Oz is liking this because look at it this way. SOS still has a pretty strong stalker count. He's getting blink, and if SOS continues to warp in stalkers, it could just end up being close to the last game. You just have so many Immortals that all those stalkers are completely useless, and you just win the actual fight. And there's looking at a third Immortal being chrono boosted by Oz. He is setting himself up not just for a good defense, but if he wanted to get on the aggressive, there's no tech answer. There's no tech answer at all for SOS. He has Photon Overcharge, but that doesn't actually do too much to the Immortals. And these Phoenix, though, for Oz, get the last bit of scouting information that they'll see before they do finally pass on. He actually slips one out. I like that he separated him from the control group, but now he knows. There is one Immortal on the way for SOS. And it looks like Oz isn't preparing to attack him anytime soon. He's getting +1 attack. He's getting a Twilight Council, which makes me believe that Oz is thinking about a third base. But now, wow, actually, this fourth Immortal, is this gonna be like a 4 Immortal push? Robotics Bay is on the way for SOS. But Oz, what are you doing? He can take a third pretty easily with this setup. He doesn't necessarily have to attack, but he has a very powerful army. Whereas SOS, he's still getting Immortals. Once he gets a couple more, even if both players were to continuously make them, I think once you have the Nexus Cannon and a few Immortals, it's not as difficult to defend. And I think Oz's window, if Oz wanted to attack, he would have already had to leave by now. I don't think that window is open anymore, so it should just be a third base. The probe is here to confirm that, and even puts a pylon first. Like, okay, don't get supply blocked. You know the drill. SOS sees with his Phoenix the army positioning. He does not know about the third base though. His observer is here. He's kind of aware. Oz got a read on the robotics bay with his Phoenix, his real one. Why hallucinate when you can have the real thing? But a Colossus is on the way for SOS. +2 attack, charge. Very, very standard transition. The Colossus. The only thing I do have to say is, okay, there it is. I was going to say, Oz had not yet, between himself, actually picked a tech path. He was just kind of sitting on the ridiculously large Immortal count from the early phase, but no Archon set up yet. And it's going to pick off this pylon. He has 5 Immortals. Damn. So there's a Colossus here. It's funny to think about, but Oz, yeah, the Colossus, but before it gets the range upgrade, the Immortals actually just absolutely obliterate them. But he does still have the Phoenix up here. And I wonder if Oz is going to try to attack. Oz might try to deny a third base. I don't think with this army setup, SOS can take a third yet. Oz is actually looking great this game. He's going to have his third first. There's no warp prisms or pylons on the map that are a threat to him. This one on the right side, I mean, technically it's farther away than, like about equidistant from the pylon and his natural. And he's putting pylons up front. I wonder if Oz could break him with just a couple Archon warp-ins. He does have a lot of gas banked up. So invalidate any force fields, and then all these Zealots become worthless. And he just lets the Immortals kill the Stalkers and the Colossi. I think that's what he's going to do. Oz is going to try to break him, potentially right here, right now. And alley-oop himself with this Zealot warp. And he can either drop in the main base to distract his opponent, or he can Zealot bomb the Colossi. And oh, SOS steps down. He wants to take the third. He absolutely cannot sit down this ramp. And here we go. Oz saying, yep, now you can no longer have your full army here. We are going to have some fun in your main base. And the Zealots are being warped in by SOS. But Oz just has what seems to be too much here. Photon Overcharge is activated. Stalkers come in. But now, look at this. In the meantime, after all of this, I mean, there are actually a lot of weak probes for SOS. He's trying to get the Zealots on the Colossus. Killing this Colossus with just Zealots would be fantastic for him. Not able to do that, but he's still got this third base. He's half saturated. He's taking the gas now. And he's adding on double Stargate, so it looks like Oz wants to go into Tempest to deal with the Colossi production. But there's already Archons being made for SOS. He doesn't have too many Colossi, just 3. And I feel like with the number of units he has on the field, he can almost overwhelm a force like this. He does need to be careful. Oz has a big army now. There's a big investment for the attack made by Oz. And he killed some workers, but now +2 attack is done for Oz. SOS has his own already. That Time Warp, bit cheeky, trying to just keep that army back. Does throw another Time Warp, and Oz is just going to try to take this fight with the Concave. The Archons going to town on these Zealots. The Immortals in the back are not targeting any of these higher tech units, though. And I'm wondering if Oz actually maybe overstepped his bounds a little bit trying to fight SOS's army. Yeah, GG. Wow, SOS in what seemed to be... I mean, it just looked like Oz just tried to... He thought he saw an opportunity for a fight, and nothing was attacking the right units. GG.